I never imagined the people who raised me would be the ones who made me feel completely worthless. Until the day my bride's multimillionaire father stood up and showed the world who I really was. My name is Emily, and for as long as I can remember, I was labeled the failure in my family. I'm 31 now, but growing up, I was always the odd one out. While my older brother became a successful lawyer, and my younger sister followed my parents into teaching, I chose a different path. I fell in love with design. Not just pretty pictures, but creating things that actually helped people. I spent years studying, working late nights, and pouring my heart into projects that nobody in my family understood. They called it a hobby. A waste of time. A childish dream that would leave me broke and alone. My parents are good people in many ways. They worked hard, provided for us, and believed in stability above everything else. But their version of success was narrow. Safe jobs, predictable lives. When I told them I wanted to build my own design studio, my mother sighed and said, "Emily, when are you going to grow up?" My father shook his head and replied, "We didn't raise you to chase fantasies." Those words stayed with me. Every time I shared a small win, landing a client, finishing a big project, they would smile politely, but always add something that cut deep. "That's nice, but when are you getting a real job?" Or, "Your brother just bought his second house, you know." Hurt, it made me feel invisible in my own family. But I kept going. I built a small portfolio. I worked freelance while holding down a day job. And then I met Sophia. Sophia was warm, brilliant, and full of life. She worked in nonprofit management, and we connected instantly at a charity design event. She saw my passion when others only saw risk. 6 months later, we were deeply in love. 18 months after that, she proposed to me on a quiet beach at sunset. I said yes with happy tears running down my face. Her family was completely different. Warm, supportive. Her father, Mr. Richard Harrington, had built a massive real estate empire from nothing. He was a self-made multimillionaire, but he never looked down on dreamers. In fact, he respected them. Sophia warned me gently that her father was successful, but also very observant. I was nervous, but excited. For the first time, I felt like maybe I could bring someone into my life who made me feel proud instead of ashamed. But what I didn't know was how loudly my family's voices would get as our wedding day approached, and how one single evening would change everything I thought I knew about my worth. As the wedding planning began, the cracks in my world grew wider. Sophia and I decided on an elegant but intimate ceremony at a beautiful lakeside venue. Her family offered to help financially, but I insisted on contributing what I could from my own savings. I even designed all the invitations, the seating cards, and a custom visual identity for our special day. It was my quiet way of showing that my work mattered. My family's reaction was painful. When I showed them the designs, my mother barely glanced at them. "That's cute, Emily. But don't you think Sophia's family will expect something more professional?" My father added, "Just make sure you don't embarrass us in front of rich people." Words shattered something inside me. I went home that night and cried in Sophia's arms. She held me tight and whispered, "Your work is beautiful. They just can't see it yet." But the doubt they planted stayed with me, As weeks passed, the comments became more frequent. Family dinners turned into subtle attacks. My brother would joke, "So Emily's still playing with her little designs while we pay real bills." My sister would say, "We're just worried about you, sis. What if this marriage doesn't work out? You don't exactly have a stable backup plan." I started shrinking. I smiled less. I spoke less about my dreams. Even though Sophia believed in me completely, the constant belittling from my own blood made me question everything. I began to wonder if they were right. Maybe I was a failure. Maybe I was lucky Sophia loved me despite my unrealistic life. But what I didn't realize at the time was that my designs had already caught someone's attention. Someone powerful. And that revelation was coming sooner than I thought. The week before the wedding, I was a bundle of nerves. I had poured everything into one final surprise for Sophia. A custom interactive digital guest book that told the story of how we met through beautiful visuals and short animations. It took me months of secret work. I was proud of it, but I didn't tell my family. I already knew what they would say. On the wedding day, the venue looked magical. Flowers everywhere, soft golden lights, and the lake sparkling in the background. Sophia looked breathtaking in her white suit. As we stood together exchanging vows, I felt overwhelming love. But in the back of my mind, I could feel my family watching, judging, waiting for me to fall short. The reception was where everything changed. Sophia's father stood up to give a speech. I expected kind words about his daughter. What I didn't expect was for him to talk about me. He cleared his throat and said, "I want to speak about Emily today." When Sophia first told me about the woman she loved, I did what any protective father would do. I looked into her, and what I found surprised me. Heart started racing. My family shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Mr. Harrington continued, "Emily designed the entire visual experience for this wedding. Invitations, the branding, even that incredible digital guest book you all saw earlier. But it doesn't stop there. Last month, I showed some of her commercial work to my team. One of her product design concepts for sustainable housing was so impressive that we're now in talks to invest in her studio. Her vision is exactly what the future needs." The room went quiet. Then applause erupted from Sophia's side of the family. I sat there frozen, tears forming in my eyes. My own family looked stunned. My mother's face turned pale. My father stared at the table, silent for the first time in years. Mr. Harrington looked directly at me and said, "Emily, you are not a failure. You are a creator, and I'm proud to welcome you into our family." That moment healed something deep inside me, but it also lit a fire. In the days after the wedding, I made a quiet but firm decision. I was done letting my family define my worth. I had spent years carrying their words like heavy stones in my heart. No more. I started by having an honest conversation with my parents. We met at their house 2 weeks after the wedding. My voice trembled at first, but it grew stronger as I spoke. "I love you both," I said, "but for years you made me feel invisible and worthless. You called me a failure while I was building something real. Today, someone saw my value, and I finally see it too." My mother tried to defend herself. "We were only trying to protect you, Emily. We didn't want you to get hurt." I shook my head gently. Protection shouldn't make your child feel broken. I needed your support, not your doubt. Father was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "We may have been wrong. We're sorry." Wasn't a perfect apology, but it was something. Still, I set clear boundaries. I told them I would no longer tolerate comments about my career or my choices. If they wanted to be part of my life, they had to respect the woman I had become. Over the next few months, my studio grew faster than I ever imagined. Mr. Harrington kept his word and helped connect me with real investors. My work started appearing in design magazines. Sophia and I moved into a beautiful new home together, filled with light and creativity. The sweetest revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic shouting or cutting people off completely. It was watching my family slowly realize they had underestimated me for years. At the next family gathering, when my brother tried to make his usual joke about my job, I simply smiled and shared that I had just signed a major contract. The silence that followed felt like justice. My sister pulled me aside later and admitted, "I didn't know you were doing so well. We should have listened more." I forgave them, but I didn't forget. I learned that family can hurt you deeply, but they don't get to decide your story today. When I look back, I feel grateful. The years of being called a failure taught me resilience. They taught me to believe in myself even when no one else did. And when Sophia's father recognized my work that night, it wasn't just validation. It was proof that the right people will see your light, even when your own blood tries to dim it. If you're listening to this and you've been labeled the disappointment in your family, I want you to hear me. Your dreams are not too big. Your path is not wrong. Keep creating. Keep building. One day, the same people who doubted you will watch you shine. And when that day comes, you will stand taller than ever. The greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong out of anger. It's becoming so powerfully yourself that their words lose all meaning. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And remember, your worth was never theirs to decide. Stay strong, keep dreaming, and never let anyone silence your light.